Yeah, g'day. I've had this saw long enough to do a couple of projects already, so I figured it was about time I did a review for you. Stick around. See, my table saw is not really a table saw. It's actually just my track saw, lodged onto the bottom of a table with sort of an adjustment mechanism, a bit of 3D printed stuff, and yeah. For some reason it's no longer retracting nicely. As it retracts, it tends to force the thing out of vertical. Not like it was ever that vertical. I guess the other major accuracy killer is guiding the crosscut sled off the edge of this table, when this table was made from the old boxing timber which was used to box off a concrete wall in my house. So the time has come to get a real saw. Right, let's open this up. And speaking of opening, what sort of confidence do you need to carve your opening sign in stone? I couldn't have got this without the generosity of Patreons and members. So I'd like to take this opportunity to give a big thank you to all of my Patreons and members. Big thank you to all of you. One thing to note, Dewalt's model number is 7492 in Europe and 7491 in the States. So what else do they give us? Spanners for changing the blades. Now, all of the reviews I've read say that this is pretty crappy. It's got a bit of wiggle in it. I'm sure there are worse. This is the big cutting guard. Right, before I start using it, there are a few setup checks which the manual recommends, so let's do those. Really nice to have a working saw lift. This works much better than the half-assed solution I made. So it looks like about 54.5 millimeters. Down the other end, 55. Okay, so the blade's slightly out of square. It's a pretty decent manual. Tells me to do a little adjustment on those screws. Okay, those two screws are pretty easy to find. Just over the back here. Okay, after a couple of rounds of setup, first I'll set the fence to a round number. Try and set it exactly 40. There we go. Lock it. 39.97. 40.04. So it looks like I'm within 1/10 of a millimeter of straight. Good enough for a starter. Let's look at the throat cover. It's definitely low on that side and high at the back. These are just simple height adjustment screws which push down on tabs in the casting. Nothing too sophisticated. I guess one of the criticisms of these cast aluminium tabled machines is that the tables aren't perfectly flat, and this is definitely also pretty flexible. I guess that's why most people make up a zero clearance cover for it. The next setup is the fence zero position. So adjust the fence till it just touches the blade. That's it there. Okay, so this should read 0. Okay, the next recommended adjustment, alignment of the riving knife, blade guard assembly and splitter. Okay, for this it says remove the guide plate, lay a straight edge across 2 teeth tips. I'll use 2 of the same side, and they shouldn't touch the riving knife, which they don't. Now from the other side, there'll be this one and this one. Here we just touch. Not badly, looks pretty much flush. Move the riving knife. There should be a couple of screws down in here which I need to move over a little bit. Okay, it's a wee bit fiddly to get down in there with the Allen keys, but it's not too bad. I wonder if the American version of this uses all American fasteners or if it's also metric, because this machine's definitely metric. Just retightening that. Riving knife back in. So did I make it better or worse? Okay, I've still got a wee bit of clearance on that side, and hey, now I've got clearance on this side. Perfect. So is the blade square? Need to adjust the stop for 90 degrees. The adjustment for the vertical stop is this one here. Sure helps that I watched about a zillion review videos on these things. Pretty much knew this one before I started. One of the worst critiques out there is that this is kind of inaccessible. But hey, if you've got a problem with the accessibility of this, you've never worked on a British aircraft before. So this is just an eccentric wheel. So as you rotate it, it moves the stop further away. Okay, that looks good. Guess the next thing I can do while I'm already here, adjust the 45-degree stop. Not sure why I bought one of these things that's not magnetic, but hey, just clamp that on gently. Okay, switch it on, zero that out. Now what angle do we end up with max? Well, that's not too bad. Let's see if we can adjust it. Okay, I think I'll take that. That's enough fluffing around. Let's make something. Now, because this miter fence is really a bit loose and nothing special, I've seen online that some people just get in there with like a center punch and they peen this edge over on both sides, making this a little bit wider to take up that slop. But really, yeah, I don't think I'll bother. I think I'll leave this original. This will do at a pinch if I've got nothing better. But what I'd prefer to make is a decent crosscut sled. Looking through the scraps bin, I've got this nice bit of cherry, which is nice sort of hard wood. And I think I'll use that for my guides, because funnily enough, it's basically perfect. Tightens up a little bit on this side, but that's good. It still slides okay. One side's going to have a wee bit more slop in than the other. But yeah, I think all I need to do is to rip down 2 pieces to that depth. Maybe we can modify this sled to still work. Take those edge strips off. Okay, now the first thing I've done is just space these strips up on a couple of washers, just to make sure that they're proud of the table. So how does this look? Well, once you hit the middle of the blade, which is where you really want to cut, it overbalances off the back. So really, I think it's too big. It's probably best if I disassemble it and just use this one panel here, turn 90 degrees, put some slides on that. Right, I've got my big square clamped on to keep it all square. Right, with those guide runners installed, I'll just put a bit of wax on them to make them slide nicely. Now after all that, the question is, how does it slide? It's very snug. Might need to wear in just a little bit, but it's got zero slop. It's fantastic. Let's cut that channel. So how does it cut? Well, that looks pretty good. If there's a taper, there's not much. Certainly looks like a nice square corner. I would say that that cut is squarer than the line was. Now, if any of you were wondering about the accuracy of that Dewalt saw, check this out. A couple of my boards were slightly oversized, so when I cut them down to size, look at this. Look how beautifully accurately it's cut this in both dimensions. Unbelievable, really. Nice saw. Just a quick disclaimer, I've got no connection with Dewalt. This saw was bought with the generosity of my Patreons, topped up with some of my own money. See, that's without any real effort to set it up. The other side's only a rough edge, so probably shouldn't take this as gospel, but it's just so easy to set this thing up. Now I've got this saw connected up to my shop vac through a little 3D printed cyclone. My shop vac's kind of old, the filter's not in great condition, the cyclone's not perfect, so I don't get perfect dust extraction. Since my other tools like hand tools and hand routers and stuff also don't have dust extraction, I always have plenty of dust here in the workshop, so I don't really get cranked about that. The one thing I will say is that even with that pretty weak dust extraction, I never have a problem with dust buildup under the blade in the catchment area. That's really good. No worries about blockage or overheating the blade because of chips jammed down beside it or anything like that. So what's my verdict? Would I buy it again? Would I recommend it? Hell yeah. It's just brilliant. If there was one word I could sum up this table with, it's convenient. When I compare it with many other tools, there's so much fluffing around getting things set up, whereas this is just super fast. It's fast to change the blade, it's fast to adjust the height, it's fast to adjust the angle, it's fast to adjust the cut width. I can whip the fence off easily, I can extend the fence easily, connecting dust extraction's easy. The whole thing is just super convenient, super fast to use, and seems to make nice, accurate cuts. So hey, what more could you want? Thanks for watching.